Hello, little friends. Tonight we have a very special magical story, the story of Rapunzel. Are you ready? Let's begin. Once upon a time in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a beautiful princess with hair as long and luscious as a waterfall. Her name was Rapunzel. Now, Rapunzel wasn't your ordinary princess. Oh no. She had a peculiar habit of locking herself in her tower every day at sunset. You see, Rapunzel's hair held a magical power, and when the sun dipped below the horizon, her hair would turn into a shimmering gold that dazzled everyone who saw it. But this magic came with a secret. Once Rapunzel started to weave her hair into a braid, the spell would be broken, and her golden locks would turn back into their normal brown. Now, Rapunzel loved her hair, and she would spend hours upon hours every day braiding and styling it. But she was also curious about the world outside her tower. Every day, she would stand by the window and watch the birds fly past, wondering what lay beyond the tall walls of her kingdom. One day, while Rapunzel was gazing out of her window, she saw a dashing young prince riding his white horse. He had the brightest smile she had ever seen, and his eyes twinkled like stars. Rapunzel couldn't help but stare, and the prince, noticing her at the window, tipped his hat in greeting. From that moment on, they began waving to each other every day, and Rapunzel started dreaming of a life beyond the tower walls, a life with the handsome prince. But alas, her mother, the queen, had forbidden her from ever leaving the kingdom. "The outside world is dangerous," her mother would say, "and you are too precious to be wandering around in those silly dresses of yours." So Rapunzel stayed in her tower day after day, weaving her hair into intricate braids, all the while keeping a sharp eye out for the dashing prince. Meanwhile, the prince was growing impatient. He liked Rapunzel very much, and he wanted to become more than just an acquaintance. He wanted to know her, to talk to her, to perhaps even ask her to marry him. But how could he do any of that if she never left her tower? One day, he decided he had had enough. He would sneak into the kingdom and climb up Rapunzel's tower, even if it meant going against the king and queen's wishes. And so, under the cloak of darkness, he did it. The prince managed to sneak into the kingdom unnoticed and began his ascent up the tall tower. Rapunzel, hearing the sound of climbing, rushed to her window, and when she saw the prince, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly hid behind the curtains, hoping he hadn't seen her. But the prince, being the clever young man that he was, had already noticed her. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," he called out, hoping that she would come to the window and let him climb up her hair. But Rapunzel hesitated. She didn't want to let the prince climb up her hair, because once she did, her golden locks would turn back into their usual brown. Then she remembered something her mother had told her. If she sang a song while she was letting down her hair, the magic would stay and her hair would continue to shine. So Rapunzel took a deep breath and started to sing as she let down her hair. The prince, hearing her beautiful voice, smiled and climbed up her shimmering locks. Finally, he was standing face to face with the beautiful Rapunzel. They talked for hours, and the prince told her all about his adventures around the kingdom. Rapunzel, in turn, told him about her dreams and hopes for the future. As the night wore on, the two fell in love, and when the first rays of sunlight peeked through the window, the prince knew he had to leave. "I must go now," he said, kissing Rapunzel on the cheek, "but I will return as soon as the sun sets. Wait for me here, Rapunzel, and I promise you we will run away together and live happily ever after." With that, he climbed back down Rapunzel's hair, promising to return that very night. And as the prince made his way out of the kingdom, he couldn't stop thinking about how lucky he was to have found Rapunzel. He had heard rumors of a beautiful princess living in a tower, but he had never believed them until he had seen Rapunzel with his own eyes. Now, as the sun began its slow descent, Rapunzel stood by the window waiting for the prince's return. She couldn't wait to escape the confines of her tower and start a new life with her true love. But as the minutes turned into hours, Rapunzel began to worry. Where was the prince? Had he changed his mind about running away with her? Just when her hopes were beginning to fade, she heard a familiar voice calling out her name. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. It was the prince. He had come back. Overjoyed, Rapunzel started to sing as she let down her hair, and as the prince climbed up her shining locks, he explained why he had been so late. "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner," he said, "but I had to tell my parents about you and get them to agree to our marriage. They were worried about the arrangement, but they finally gave their blessing." Rapunzel, overjoyed, could barely contain her excitement. They wasted no time and set off on their journey hand in hand, leaving the kingdom and all its rules behind them. As they walked into the sunset, Rapunzel's heart was filled with gratitude and love. She had found her true love, and they were going to spend the rest of their lives together. The prince, seeing how happy Rapunzel was, felt a surge of affection for her. He knew he had made the right decision by choosing her over the kingdom and its golden rules. Together, they explored the world beyond the tower walls, discovering new places and having exciting adventures. Rapunzel learned that the world was full of wonder and beauty, and she couldn't wait to see more of it with her beloved prince by her side. As the years went by, Rapunzel and the prince grew old together, but their love for each other never faded. They had two beautiful children who grew up exploring the kingdom and the world beyond. And whenever they heard a beautiful song echoing through the trees, they knew it was the voice of their mother Rapunzel, forever young and forever in love. And so that is the story of Rapunzel, the princess whose hair turned into a dazzling gold under the setting sun. A story about love, bravery, and the importance of following your dreams, no matter how impossible they may seem. And now it's time for bed, little one. Close your eyes and drift off to sleep, dreaming of magical princesses and dashing princes who live happily ever after. Sweet dreams. If you enjoyed this magical tale, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you never miss out on our enchanting stories. Also, we've got a special treat for you. Click the link below to access our free coloring pages, where you can print out amazing illustrations from your favorite stories, including Rapunzel. Have fun coloring, and don't forget to share your creations with us. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep reading and dreaming. And that's the magical story of Rapunzel. Always remember, even when life gets tough, love, hope, and kindness will always light the way. If you liked the story, don't forget to give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, if you had magic hair, what would you do with it? Good night, little stars. Sweet dreams.